Anyone remember the mermaid craze that swept YouTube for a few years? About 8 years ago, a bunch of young kids decided that they wanted to create their own H2O series. For those of you who don't know, H2O, Just Add Water, is an Australian mermaid show that was extremely popular in the early 2000s. This, plus the rise of many fake mermaid tales, kids began to create their own TV shows and post them onto YouTube. These videos proceeded to get millions of views and capture the attention of many kids, despite them being filmed on a phone most of the time and with very low editing or acting skills. I was one of those kids. I even ended up trying to make my own mermaid show. Thankfully, those videos have been taken down, so you're never gonna find them. But today I'm going to talk about the best YouTube mermaid show, hands down, and possibly even the best mermaid show ever. Life as a Mermaid. The show ran from 2016 to 2018 with a grand span of 4 seasons. The show came out a little bit after the Mermaid era, but trust me, if you haven't seen the show, I would highly recommend checking it out. I'm also going to be spoiling all 4 seasons, so you have been warned. The show was created by Alex Miller. From what I can tell, the show seemed to be a passion project. So, what's the show about? Season 1 essentially is comprised of a bunch of shorts, all following our main character, Maddison, who is a mermaid trying to find love. The first season is very simple, there is no overarching plot really, but we were introduced to a lot of the main characters that we're going to be seeing in later seasons. I'm not going to be doing a breakdown of every episode in Season 1, mainly because there's not a whole lot to talk about, and also for time's sake purposes, but I will give you the gist so you understand later seasons. I'm also not going to be saying any of the actors' names purely because I am terrible with names and do not want to try and pronounce them and or butcher them. But I will leave all their names in the description, so if you want to go check them out, definitely go do that. In the first episode, we're introduced to Maddison, our main character, who accidentally finds herself at a human party, where she attempts to hide her tail in a pool while looking for her magic teleporting mirror. Meanwhile, one of our soon-to-be main characters, Nat, is talking to a guy. Unfortunately, when the guy catches a look at Maddison, he leaves and attempts to go flirt with her instead. But once he finds out she's a mermaid, he freaks out. Season 1 tends to consist with this format and structure for the entire season. Guy attempts to flirt with Mermaid, the guy was somebody Nat liked. Once the guy finds out that the girl is a mermaid, he is disgusted and or flees the sea. The only episode that really seems to break this format in Season 1 is Oasis Encounter, which features the best character in the entire series, Stanley. We were actually introduced to him as a waiter in a prior episode, but he isn't fully introduced until now. In Season 1, Stanley was really characterized as a lovable goofball who is the only guy who isn't repelled by Maddison's tail. In fact, he even attempts to flirt with her on multiple occasions. However, she shuts him down. She shuts him down. Oh my word. In fact, he even attempts to flirt with her on multiple occasions, but she shuts him down every time. You know what? That's close enough. After the first very short season was released, they decided they wanted to make a second season with a bit more of a budget and a wider cast. Thankfully, this season came to fruition, and this is the first season where we get a full overarching plot, a wider cast, and longer episodes. While Season 1 consisted of 5 episodes only lasting about 5 minutes, Season 2 consists of 10 episodes lasting from 10 to 15 minutes. For reference, I'm also going to skip over some scenes and possibly move things around just to make it more easier for me to dissect. Episode 1, Return of the Fish. We get introduced to Liam, who is a surfer dude that ends up being Maddison's love interest for the first bit of the season. He's genuinely a nice guy, and he doesn't seem freaked out by the fact that she's a mermaid whatsoever. This is the first time we get to see the long intro, and unfortunately, this is the only season where we get a long intro. But it is iconic. We cut to Stanley, who has officially become a part of the main cast, as to where in Season 1 it was arguable if he was. This is where we're introduced to our main villain, Astrid. I'm sorry, but the organ music is absolutely amazing. This is also when we're introduced to our other main protagonist, Jed, though he's really more of a sidekick to Astrid. So of course, Astrid is looking for a mermaid because she wants to sell it, yada yada yada. Stanley decides to interrupt them briefly to discuss how he's seen a mermaid around after overhearing their conversation, and how he's close friends with her. He's not really, but he says this anyway. Astrid and Jed decide to abduct Stanley so he can help them find the mermaid. Episode 2, Fish Out of Water. In Episode 2, we get introduced to Maddison's little sister, Valerie. She's annoyed by Maddison for spending so much time with humans. Remember the magic teleporting mirror, aka just a magic mirror from Season 1? Well, Valerie is also mad because she's been using it. Apparently, it's a priceless artifact.
You were supposed to give that mirror back. It's a magical teleportation device, and it shouldn't be used for brushing your hair or dyeing your tail.
Maddison obviously doesn't care, and in an effort to make her understand why she likes humans so much, she takes Valerie to her human party. Meanwhile, the antagonists are doing this.
What are you doing? There's a door in the back.
We are going.
We are not this close, bro.
Sorry.
The antagonists end up tracking the mermaids to the party. Astrid decides to go in alone, leaving the boys in the truck.
Well, gee, we'll just do what we do best, huh?
You stay here. You stay here.
Oh, you stay here. You stay here, yeah.
This is when Nat appears again and notices Maddison. She proceeds to go over there to confront her about how she's been annoying her.
Figure out exactly. Whoa!
How are you everywhere? Oh, hey! You? Nat.
Valerie decides to jump in and agree with Nat, and the both get to talking and have a nice conversation. Astrid spots Maddison and tells them to bring the net, then proceeds to push a random guy into the pool and just walks away. Astrid comes off to me as this villain who thinks she's really cool, but in actuality isn't. That doesn't make her a bad villain, she serves her purpose fine, I just think it's funny. Episode 3, The Net. Jet decides to take them to Will, his friend, who allegedly has a tracker that will help them find the mermaid. Stanley and Astrid go in to find him. Meanwhile, Valerie and Maddison accidentally stayed the night.
Whoops. Well, did you meet anyone cool? Besides her? No.
Liam, bless his soul, tries to gather everyone together to clean up the beach. They all agree after Liam says they could have a party after they clean it up. Back to Stanley and Astrid, Astrid ends up knocking out Will and steals his device. Let me get this line from Stanley.
We did not say we were gonna hurt people.
Which hints to Stanley having an actual character arc, which is really cool. Only a few people actually ended up staying back to help clean up the beach. However, Valerie starts to believe that there are some good in humans. She asks Liam to take her down to the ocean, and unfortunately, Valerie is captured by the antagonists. One question I do have is she was barely by the water. How did a boat get that close to the shore to sweep her up and grab her? But you know what, I digress. There's a lot of unexplained things in this show. Episode 4, Stranded.
I have to go. Madison, they're in a boat.
You can't swim as fast as a boat. Wait, can you? Can she?
No.
Madison is of course freaking out that her sister has been taken away, but Liam assures her that he knows somebody who can help. Meanwhile, Stanley is trying to cheer Valerie up as much as possible. He offers her a bunch of things to make her feel better, one of which is the magic mirror he's holding when she was taken. Valerie tries to take it, but Astrid says if she wants it, she can't have it. Unfortunately, Liam's car breaks down on their way to find his friend. Thankfully, Nat fixes the car after a sweet conversation with Maddison. Valerie then tries to escape in a scene that is way too funny for its own good.
Rolling. Stop! It is Jet when he needs him. He's getting chips.
Oh, Valerie, don't you dare throw that sand. Valerie, stop it.
And in the most on-the-nose way, Valerie gets caught by some trash and the antagonists capture her again. Episode 5, Dead End. Liam's friend is actually Will. He thought Will's device would help them find Valerie. Unfortunately, as we all know, the device is no longer in his possession. I'm going to talk about Will's character for a second because in seasons later, he becomes way more important and I feel like I have to discuss his personality a little bit. Essentially, he's a scientist. A very, no-nonsense scientist. But he's also not at all surprised by the fact that mermaids are real and just proceeds to help them, which I find absolutely hilarious. Stanley decides to talk to Valerie about how him and Maddison might have a thing, you know.
Madison. Do you think she's into me? Okay, because, she's been throwing me a lot of mixed signals, but, there was this one time when we were on the Oasis, and we locked eyes, and then just like that, I felt it. I felt it, But I don't want to, pressure her or rush her into anything that might be real. Yes?
You realize that you suck.
What?
You are objectively a bad person.
I like this scene. I like this scene a lot. It both shows how Stanley didn't realize all the crap things he's actually doing and how Valerie didn't like humans in the first place, and this is just reaffirming those beliefs. Back to the other gang. They look through security footage and find out that Stanley was helping the girl who knocked Will out. They decide to go back to the restaurant he worked at in hopes of finding him. And I think this is a perfect example how the show does not take itself too seriously. Because this restaurant is just simply gone and the person who owned it is now living on the streets, The show can be very campy, and I genuinely love it.
Verdict frying in this thing. Yeah, it's still good.
Episode 6, Mermaid Sushi. Apparently Will has this app that will locate Jed. I also want to note that I love that he uses one of those little pencil things. It is so in character. Meanwhile, Astrid calls a potential buyer while Stanley and Jed decide a much quicker and more sufficient option is to sell the mermaid to a sushi restaurant. Turns out the guy who runs the sushi restaurant was Stanley's old boss. Again, I love how this show just has this boss dude lose his restaurant, his family, become homeless, then open a brand new restaurant in the span of one day. Astrid notices that the guys are gone and heads into the sushi restaurant.
Yeah, plan B.
What on earth is going on here?
We just sold Valerie to my old boss.
We are absolutely not selling the mermaid to a crummy little fish restaurant.
Whoa, hey.
Yeah, now you're just being rude.
Not 5 stars, but it's not a Denny's either, you know?
Listen, I just got off the phone with a vendor.
A visit?
With the Avengers?
Van
A
Dam.
vendor.
An air vent?
Do you come with subtitles?
Do you know what
Who
she's
buys and sells, who buys and sells a vendor.
Oh, a vendor!
The other gang uses the tracker to track Jed to the sushi restaurant as well. Maddison proceeds to do a little speech about how mermaids are people too, and the restaurant decides to boycott this boss guy. We also never see this character again. I can only imagine that he died on the streets, so rest in peace, my man. As the speech is going on, Jed and Astrid proceed to flee the scene, leaving Stanley the only one left behind. The gang decides to take Stanley. Episode 7, Captivity. The gang then proceeds to attempt to give Stanley in exchange for her sister.
Hey, I have your weird little kid.
Hey, guys, save me!
Yeah, we'll trade him for my sister.
Instead, they decide to hold Stanley hostage and force him to watch Splash to try and change his mind about mermaids. I also want to note that Stanley's love of the movie Splash continues and is a reoccurring joke in the series, especially in the short films. Stanley inevitably does do a speech about how he truly just wanted friends and he didn't mean to do all those bad things. This sounds really ridiculous without the context, but trust me, the scene is actually quite nice. Also, when he recorded it, there was no one else in the room, fun fact, so he had to really act. The buyer for the mermaids eventually arrives, but when she sees Valerie, she decides she's too small and instead doesn't want to buy her. Astrid then says that she can get her another mermaid. I also forgot to mention last episode because it wasn't super important, but Maddison has a little talk with Will where she tries to make conversation and he's clearly not into it. However, in this episode, he does go out of his way to have a sweet little conversation with her, which I think is fun. Little character development thingy there. Episode 8, Bait. Stanley decides to work with them and ends up giving Will back his tracker. Will immediately runs outside to go work on it and Maddison follows shortly behind. The two proceed to have a fight, with Maddison stating that he doesn't care about anything but himself. And in an effort to try and prove that he does care, Will kisses her. And her reaction, understandably, is more shocked than happy, so he leaves embarrassed. I'm going to talk a little bit more in depth about their relationship as the series progresses, but I will say this is a very extremely rushed one in season 2. She knows Maddison will come looking for Valerie, and Stanley knows where they are, so he'll bring them right to them. The gang does proceed to do all this and gets captured. Astrid and Jed decide to leave Nat, Stanley, and Liam on a stranded island, while keeping the mermaids at their headquarters. Episode 9, Mermaid Rescue. The lady that wants to buy the mermaids says they're only worth half price. After a bit of arguing back and forth, they agree to 60%. But because of this cash decline, Astrid decides that Jed will not get any of the money. Jed is obviously annoyed by this and decides to tell Will everything that happened. When Will finds out that the mermaids are captured, especially when he finds out that Maddison is captured, he goes to rescue them. Meanwhile, on the newest episode of Survivor...
Liam!
Get over here! What are you doing?
You're taking too long, man. If you want to catch something, you gotta fish like the ancient Polynesians.
Polynesians? I thought you were vegetarian!
It's fine if you catch your own. It's like sustainable.
Sustainable.
Oh, he's gonna drown. He's gonna drown. Big wave. Gotta come in and take a big wave. Stanley rolls up and
Liam, we may have to eat now.
What?
Maddison and Valerie proceed to have a fight that turns into a heart-to-heart, with Valerie more than ever extremely annoyed by humans, and Maddison stating that not even mer people are perfect. I feel like right here is a really good point to mention that this show does a really good job with setting things up for later seasons. They don't discuss the crab people for a while, however Stanley does end up having a girlfriend who is a crab person in one of the short films, which is interesting to say the least. The black market dealer and her goons get arrested, and Maddison and Will share their second kiss, along with a sweet conversation.
You guys are really cute together, you know that?
The island. This episode is really short and kind of just wraps up all the last loose ends. For example, the group makes up with Jed and he tells them where he put Liam, Stanley, and Nat, and they go to get them.
Oh, you'll be digging your own grave if we don't get out of here.
Oh my gosh, just give me that.
Ah, Stanley!
Whoa, guys, come on.
Stanley!
Hey guys!
Hey,
Guys.
Maddison?
Valerie! Wow. Will, how did you get on the island?
It's not an island. It's a peninsula. Did you guys walk around, like, at all? Like, my car's, like, right up there.
The episode ends with a bunch of cute moments with the characters saying their final season wrap goodbyes, and that is the end of season 2. Season 2 is definitely way more interesting than season 1, as you can probably tell. I also want to mention that the acting is really great in this series. The effects are also surprisingly fantastic, along with location scouting. Essentially, it just looks pretty great, especially for a low-budget film. Also, can I mention that, like, every character has a mini little arc? For example, Nat starts liking Maddison more, Valerie is learning that maybe not all humans are bad, Stanley learns that real friends aren't people who just want to use you, and Will learns that work doesn't always have to come first. But Liam is just vibing, and you know what? I'm cool with that. One thing I feel like I need to mention, and I have no clue why I feel this, but I have to get it out of my system. Stanley's actor would play a great Steve Harrington in Stranger Things. Don't ask me why I think this, I do not know. It's not even like their characters are remotely similar. He just gives me the vibe of Steve so strong and I have no clue why. I don't know if it's because he plays with his hair all the time. I do not understand, but I had to get that out there, so do with that information what you will. Okay, no, wait, hold on. I just went on their Instagram page and this is the first photo that came up on his profile. It's confirmed. Steve Stanley conspiracy theory is confirmed, everyone. Also, apparently I'm not the only person who thinks this. In between season 2 and season 3, there's a Christmas special, a Valentine's Day special, and a few more, which I will not go into full detail on, but they are really cute shorts. However, I will very quickly talk about Mermaid Origins, which does play a big part in the beginning of season 3. Essentially, Mermaid Origins is about Valerie and Maddison having their own YouTube channel now. They're also living in one of their friends' backyards. One of the fans of their channel, Eva, figures out where they live via a video, which, by the way, rookie move. If you're gonna show your house, do not show your address. Eva eventually tries to convince them to turn her into a mermaid. Of course, the girls thought this was a terrible idea, and in an effort to turn to a mermaid, Eva steals the magic mirror, turning herself into a mermaid.
Oh, come on. What happened? You teleported wrong, dummy!
Hey, you're lucky you didn't lose an arm.
Where did it go?
A fight breaks out amongst the girls, even damaging the mirror slightly, having magic go everywhere, which sends Maddison to who knows where. And that's how we get to season 3. Episode 1, Lost. At the very beginning of the episode, we get introduced to our main antagonist for this season, the Barnacle King. Yes, you heard me right, that is the name of this villain. He's looking for Maddison along with his partner, Blobert.
Ooh, trash breeders. Have you seen a woman who looks like this?
One time at a bus stop.
The picture? Show him the picture! Have you seen this woman?
Don't think so.
Doesn't ring a bell? Thank you!
Meanwhile, they return Eva home and Valerie and Nat decide to go on a search to find Maddison. They head to Beatrice's house in hopes of finding a way to fix the mirror. Beatrice used to be a mermaid, however, she now just runs a janky spa place and sells remedies that most likely will not work and or will give you tentacle hair. She's a very fun character and definitely a great addition to the show. Maddison, on the other hand, ends up in some weird underwater place that is never really explained. She ends up teleporting herself out into some random restaurant, where we get a little cameo from the past season's villain.
Paula, where were you? Come on.
Oh.
BLT table 12. Oh. No, sir, I wasn't calling you Paula.
Oh. Right? Okay.
What are you standing around for?
All right. Here you go, and I'm just gonna bring you right over there.
Right over there. Come on.
Okay. Need the cover for me.
Paula. Typical Paula.
After a few wacky shenanigans, she ends up at Beatrice's house. Soon after, the Barnacle King arrives and informs Maddison that her citizenship of the Underwater Kingdom has been revoked due to the cause of her breaking a very priceless relic. He also decides to take her mermaid tail away, leaving her human. Episode 2, The Lagoon. Maddison is shocked and trying to figure out how to use legs now. The Barnacle King then explains that the Council of Mer has also sent him to collect every one of the relics, so he proceeds to do so and leaves. There are 5 relics including the magic mirror, and the Barnacle King only has one of them, which is I think the tusk of a narwhal if I remember correctly. Beatrice says that the only way she'll be able to get her tail back is by using magic from one of the other relics. With that knowledge, Maddison and the rest of the gang try to find one of these relics, the first one and closest one being the trident. Valerie decides to stay with Beatrice and try and fix the magic mirror. Will and Maddison climb the mountain, leaving the others to watch guard. When they arrive at the top of the mountain, we meet
Sheldon, Molly, Snigmere.
After very easily stopping Nat, Stanley, and Liam, the Barnacle King also arrives to the top of the mountain, encouraging the Snail Man to give him the trident. The Snail Man refuses and tries to attack him using the trident. However, the Barnacle King deflects the magic by using one of the other relics. However, Maddison does still end up with the trident. The Barnacle King also gets thrown off the mountain, and Blobert goes to find him. The Snail Man then proceeds to tell Will and Maddison that he can read minds, and that he's not exactly sure, but the Barnacle King definitely has something planned that's even worse. He's planning to collect all the relics for his own personal gain.
For once, I blame you.
What?
Yeah, I'm looking right at you. I'm not
You were the one who said you knew how to fight.
What did I say? What did I say,
went to
Liam?
fighting school for 10 years.
I said 8. Listen, pay attention for once in your life, Liam. What? Oh. He was just too powerful, okay?
Episode 3, Potions and Other Magic. They head back to Beatrice's house and ask if she knows where any of the other relics are. Beatrice says that she sold one of them to some guy who hasn't been seen in years. So Stanley goes to his conspiracy theorist friends, because of course Stanley has conspiracy theorist friends, and they tell them where to find the guy. Meanwhile, Beatrice has the lovely idea of making Valerie do all sorts of nonsense just to keep her in the pool so that she can pay people to come see a real-life mermaid. Will decides to take Maddison dancing. He's really excited that she has legs now and they can finally do things they haven't been able to before. Maddison, on the other hand, is extremely focused on the mission. Stanley and the rest of the gang call Will and Maddison to tell them where the next relic is. The two of them head there, but unfortunately the Barnacle King and Blobert were already there. They get the magical seaweed and run off with it. I'm pretty sure it's seaweed, but I honestly can't remember exactly. Episode 4, The Forbidden Pool. Valerie and Beatrice have gotten the mirror to start working slightly better. The rest of the gang all get together to discuss a plan. Beatrice tells them that they have to go to a forbidden pool to find a jellyfish, which is one of the relics. Liam tells them that he has a friend who has a boat they can use. Unfortunately, the Barnacle King had the same idea. Meanwhile, Beatrice sends Valerie into the dark pool to find the thing that'll help them fix the mirror. Unfortunately, Valerie runs into some problems and Beatrice has to swim down there with a mermaid tail to help her. She uses this thing called 5-minute mermaid gel. I bring this up because it'll become important in this later season. While Will's tracker is trying to find the jellyfish, Maddison and Will have a talk.
Well, I mean, since you're adjusting and everything, I was just wondering if you were gonna stay. You know, with me. With us. You know, all of us.
Will, I'm a mermaid. No, that's who I am. It's a part of me.
Yeah, I know. Aren't I a part of you too?
The guy who owns the fishing boat decides to attack Maddison, thinking she's a mermaid, and all chaos breaks loose. Stanley accidentally ends up catching the jellyfish they need, and everyone attacks him.
Really?
Wow,
that was your best
just
shot? That
terrible.
was really bad.
Wow.
Episode 5, Mermaid Transformations. The episode opens with a continuation of the previous fight. The fight ends with the group having all the relics they've collected thus far. The rest of the gang gets back together, and while they were gone, Beatrice and Valerie fix the mirror. However, Will and Maddison proceed to get into another fight about her becoming a mermaid again. Valerie proceeds to try and change Maddison back without her permission. Thankfully, it misfires and hits Stanley instead.
Hold on.
Beatrice then reverses it. Valerie said that she thought it was irreversible. Of course, Maddison is upset, realizing that her sister was about to change her back permanently and without her permission. Some dark magic then proceeds to leave the pool and a giant puff of smoke. The smoke then proceeds to take all of the relics. Seconds later, people arrive to tell Beatrice that they are shutting down her business due to some customer concerns.
Persistent itchiness, nausea, indigestion, vomiting, headaches, tiny shrimp coming out of orifices, hair turning.
Episode 6, Divided. Maddison decides to keep her legs, at least for now, because she thinks they might come in handy later on in the mission. They decide to send Stanley as an undercover agent, however, they can't let him look human, so they dress him up.
How do I look? Does it look like the video?
Stanley ends up joining the Barnacle King and Blobert. At the end of the episode, Valerie attempts to go to this prison because Beatrice says they might accidentally have released a prisoner while she was trying to fix the mirror. Episode 7, The Sunken House. Valerie decides to go talk to this jellyfish guy who is in jail.
Stay back, freak!
And honestly, this is a really weird scene. I don't know why, but it makes me really uncomfortable. But at the end of the day, he gives her a book and says it might help. Liam and Will get to talking about bro stuff, which I honestly think the show would benefit if they had more scenes like this. Just characters one-on-one talking. The friendship is really strong as a group, but on its own isn't very strong with individual groups of people. But that's just a small little nitpick. Valerie goes to a sunken mansion where supposedly the relics have been taken to. Valerie swims into the mansion and then proceeds to teleport the boys inside with her. Valerie also decides to give herself legs by using the mirror. Which, by the way, could the mirror always do that? Or was that just a thing they just learned? Because that would have been really useful in, like, last season. However, the sea monsters end up finding them and they end up in a fight. Will urges Valerie to throw him one of the relics, but Valerie refuses to because she doesn't trust Will. Episode 8, Adrift. Stanley ends up learning the Barnacle King's plan and how he wants to cut off all ties to the ocean from the rest of the land to protect it from humans. However, he needs all the relics to create a giant barrier that covers the entire ocean. Meanwhile, Beatrice, Nat, and Maddison all go try to find the other relics. During the car ride, Maddison has a really cool dream sequence that I feel like I have to mention just because it looks really cool. So, the Barnacle King's group end up finding this oyster who they need the pearl of to make his own magic mirror. So, obviously, Maddison and the rest of the gang are also looking for it. Maddison's group also arrive at the scene. The two groups then proceed to play checkers as per recommendation of the clam so they can see who will get the pearl. However, the clam dude just decides that he likes Maddison more, so the game didn't really matter and gives Maddison the pearl. He also sends the Barnacle King away. Episode 9, Locked Out. Maddison and the rest of them find out that Valerie and the boys have been held captive in the underwater mansion. Maddison proceeds to use some of the 5-minute mermaid gel to swim down to the mansion. The Barnacle King enters the mansion and they all proceed to have another fight. Stanley's disguise also comes off and it's revealed to the Barnacle King that Stanley was lying to him all this time. This angers him and he decides to grab the pearl and use it to create his own magic mirror and steals all the rest of the relics, teleporting himself out to create his own magic barrier.
Need to come in from the Pacific, Atlantic, and Indian Oceans, as well as every sea, bay, gulf, and inlet. An invisible barrier has divided the land from the sea everywhere they meet.
If I can't surf, dude, I can't live. You know? Like, why is this even happening to me, man? Why?
Surprisingly to the Barnacle King, the Mer Council isn't happy with this decision and says the barrier needs to come down. This scares him into thinking that they'll come and arrest him. In his panic, he decides to release an evil being in hopes that he will protect him after seeing what he's done. Of course, this doesn't go as planned, and the giant lobster man goes on a rampage throughout the city. Maddison, Beatrice, and Valerie then have to try and stop him. Fire ends up being thrown towards the Barnacle King, and Blobert uses himself as a shield to save him. Stanley then revives Blobert by waving a plant, which is one of the relics, in his face.
Thank Neptune! I thought I lost you. I'm so happy.
All right,
buddy?
Okay. Listen here, you little punk. Don't you ever pull anything like that again, you understand me? You stupid, smug, bony, whiny, prima donna, rat-faced, chicken neck, pickle juice drinking, Oreo cookie, ugly little backstabber. If you ever leave me to get beat up by monsters again, I will not be taking another shot for your ungrateful behind. You understand what I'm saying? Okay.
At the last minute, when hope all seems lost, Will comes just in time to save them. However, Maddison throws the last blow and the day is saved. Beatrice brings the barrier down by using all the relics and they celebrate. I also forgot to mention that Liam and Nat were just talking the whole time, and Liam also has a crush on Nat, and that's kind of been ongoing this entire season. and also kind of last season. I just kind of haven't mentioned it because I didn't think it was super important. And that was season 3. Honestly, this season had a lot more going on, especially with the lore. And the lore in the show only gets more intense as the seasons progress, which isn't a bad thing. I actually enjoy it. However, it's going to make it very hard for me to explain the plot. So if it's confusing, hopefully the visuals will help. And if not, I'm sorry, I'm doing my best. The Barnacle King was definitely more of an interesting villain than season 2. Mainly because he was funny and not as much of a stereotype as season 2 villain. I do, however, miss Jed. What happened to Jed? Can we get a petition to bring Jed back into the show? Thank you very much. Season 4 is the final season of the show, and it continues with the same episode length and number of the previous 2 seasons. Right off the bat, I want to say this is probably my favorite season. I don't really have a reason as to why. Maybe it's because it's the season I watched the most, or the one I got to see the most when it came out. I remember waiting week by week for each episode. I'm also going to be breaking up this season a little bit differently. Instead of going back and forth between plots except for when we get to the very end, I'm going to just be summarizing each plot separately in each episode, because honestly this season has way too much going on for me to go back and forth. But without further ado, let's get into the 4th and final season of Life as a Mermaid. Episode 1, SOS. Season 4 opens with a brief look at the main characters aside from the mermaid gals. We see Liam being a lifeguard, Nat working at a store, Stanley being a waiter. Once again, you might have noticed that this isn't completely normal looking, mainly because magic has been leaking out into the world. This is definitely my favorite opening to one of the seasons. I love how everyone is just going about their day and their average life while these wacky shenanigans are going on. It's such a great way to prepare you for this season. We then flash to Will, who gets a call on his magic rock that Maddison gave to him in a Christmas special. As he's about to leave to go find Maddison, we then meet Will's father, who is one of the main antagonists of this season. There are a lot of them. Will's father seems to be only interested in using Will's tracker and or taking it. I have no clue why. This is never really addressed other than he wants it and Will does not want him to have it. His dad also seems to be kind of a jerk, so there's that. Will, of course, tells him he can't have his tracker and leaves to go to the beach to meet up with his friends. However, when they arrive at the beach, instead of the girls appearing, it's Beatrice. She explains that Maddison and Valerie have been captured and they haven't been seen in days. She thinks evil sea monsters have taken them, so she uses a spell to track the magic mirror and hopes that they'll be with it. Will and Beatrice both swim using some of that 5-minute mermaid gel. Unfortunately, when they find the mirror, Maddison and Valerie are nowhere to be seen. However, when they open the mirror, there is a message for Will where Maddison says,
"For you and only for you, because it's really, really important that I tell you this. I need you to
I'll
go."
be taking that. That's right. It's the sea cops.
Fortunately, they are caught by sea cops who try to take them in. Beatrice attacks them while Will escapes. Will then informs the group what he's learned, and he says that they're going to find Maddison and Valerie, and rescue them. Episode 2, Mermaid Cave. This is when we're back to Maddison and Valerie, who are currently tied up in a cave. And we're probably introduced to our main antagonist, Ronan, who's apparently someone Maddison and Valerie know, but it's never really elaborated on how they know him, they just do. Ronan is also a Selkie. They mentioned Selkies in season 2, but this is the first time we've seen one appear, which honestly Selkies are way underused as mythological creatures in media. This also isn't a very accurate representation of Selkies, and it's not like I'm a Selkie fan or anything, it's completely fine. But I just want to put that out there in case anyone in the comments was like, oh, this isn't actually accurate. Oh, also, if you don't know what a Selkie is essentially a seal that is also a person, and when they come on land, they like shed their skin and they're human. That sounds a lot more weird, but you know what, it is weird. It is weird. But like I said, this isn't the most accurate version of that, so that doesn't actually happen in the show, really. Let's just get back to the video. Ronan explains that they're trying to find the Well of Magic, which is something that was sealed off many years ago to protect the sea monsters from using any magic. Currently, the mermaids are the only creatures who are allowed to use the magic via relics. Ronan is also working with the sea monsters to try and gain the magic for themselves. Ronan needs a mermaid from one of the 5 families to open one of the locks, which Valerie and Maddison both are. The sea monsters also explain that the mermaids were the ones who locked up the magic in the first place because they wanted to covet it for themselves. Also, I'm not exactly sure what classifies as a sea monster. It's never explained in the show, but from what I can tell, mermaids are the only creatures that aren't sea monsters. Editing Maddie coming in to just say, I think it's essentially just people with a lot of power are not considered sea monsters. Because I don't think the Barnacle King is considered a sea monster because he's like of high status. Same with like the Selkies, because they like signed the like Mer Clan thing in season 3. I honestly don't know. Meanwhile, the rest of the gang decides to rescue Maddison and Valerie, even though they told them specifically not to. Everyone decides to go save them. Except Nat, who goes begrudgingly because she actually cares about what they told them to do. Maddison tells them in her little Star Wars-esque phone call recording that if they want more information, they should go to the Magic Library. The group then goes to the Magic Library and finds a book that tells them where they need to go, which is some sort of island. No one knows where the Magic Well/cave is other than Maddison and Valerie and the other sea monsters who are in there, but they've been looking for it for a really long time. So that means the friends have to try and figure out where it is. Wacky shenanigans ensue. They almost get eaten by an evil librarian.
Does anyone have tape? Anyone have tape?
Oh! You have profaned a book! You must die! You
And Will's dad calls to offer him a deal to give him money to fund his trip in exchange for his tracker, which he agrees to. It's also important to note that Valerie and Maddison are planning to use the magic to clean up the ocean as soon as they open the lock. So they're going to try and stay around with the sea monsters even if they don't need them anymore. At the very end of the episode, we also get teased that Will's father is looking for the Barnacle King. Also, Jed is back! Okay, so that was a lot. Wow, this season has a lot of lore and plot to explain. In the cave, we find out that apparently they need to sing to unlock it. They do so, but it only unlocks halfway. They realize they need a whale to sing with in order to fully open the next lock. Meanwhile, Jed goes after the Barnacle King in hopes that he'll know more about what weird magic stuff has been going on everywhere.
Hey mate, is this aspirin?
Nope. Nope, that's not it. Go get the other one, please.
He successfully kidnaps him and brings him to Will's dad, who confronts him and tells him that he wants magic to make the world more sustainable, but he says it in more of a business guy wants to make money way than he actually wants to help the world way. Of course, the Barnacle King doesn't agree.
Do you have any questions? No, it seems pretty clear. I'm a big dumb human. I want to steal magic so I can get money. Oh, Mr. Barnacle King, can you help me? I'm too stupid to figure it out myself. Oh, I wear wicker hats because I don't know what fashion sense is. That was you.
That was actually pretty good.
But after they threaten him by trying to kill some tiny barnacles on a rock, he tells them that he knows about 2 mermaids, and if they want to find them, they need to find Maddison's boyfriend.
His name is Bill. Nope, Phil. Nope, still. That's not a name. Yoshimitsu? No. It's Will. It's Will.
Of course, Will's dad had no clue this was his son, but he's kind of just chill with it and is like, okay, find my son, Jed. Jed decides to text Stanley to ask him where they are. And of course, Stanley, being the lovable idiot he is, he tells him everything. Episode 4, Whale Song. The mermaids proceed to tell the sea monsters what they've discovered and how they need a whale. There are also 2 other main antagonists who are sea monsters. There's the squid dude and his translator, Petromy. Hopefully I said that right. If I didn't, I'm sorry. This is why I'm not going to try and pronounce the actors' names. They proceed to use Squid Dude's magic to teleport Seal Dude and Maddison to some whales where they can open the next lock, and they are successful. The rest of the sea monsters argue over whether they should keep the mermaids there. Of course, Maddison and Valerie beg to stay in hopes that they can use the magic for themselves to clean the ocean. Squid Dude tells them that he wants to talk to the mermaids alone and proceeds to tell him that he doesn't want war among their people and that they need to stay. The rest of the gang end up on the island where they start looking for mysterious cave tours because that is their only source of information. We also meet this lovable new character who I'm sure has 15 different names, so I'm not going to tell you all of them. So for now, I'm just going to call him Dude because I can't even tell you what he is as an occupation. He's definitely one of my favorite characters in the entire series, by the way. Probably right under Stanley, and then under him is Jed, and then everyone else. He tells them that they should go on these tours of these ancient ruins, and the group decides to go to find out more information about what they need to do next. Or at least in hopes. I mean, they're really skimming the bottom of the barrel to try and find more information at this point. Episode 5, Octopus Mermaid. In order to open the next lock, they need someone with 8 arms. Unfortunately, Squid Dude is too old to do so, so he offers to teach Valerie a specific technique that will allow her to do so. Of course, Ronan is annoyed by this, and Maddison isn't sure if she should. But Valerie agrees and successfully opens the lock via using magic squid powers. Sorry, octopus powers. Is he a squid or is he an octopus? I don't think that's ever explained. I don't know if he's a squid or an octopus, so if I mix it around a bunch, I'm sorry, that's just what it's gonna be. Meanwhile, Dude explains to them this legend about a human king and the mermaids living together in harmony, and how this ridiculous pirate dude tried to steal the king's ring. However, he died shortly after he stole the ring. In the previous episode, the magic mirror said they need to find a ring because the ring will lead them to the well. So Liam and Nat decide to go scuba diving to find the ring, and they find it, which was extremely easy. However, Jed shows up and tries to steal it. He leaves once he realizes there's a magic zombie pirate about to attack them.
So, like I said, once we save our friends, we can bring the ring back. Is that cool?
Of course. I feel so bad for rushing judgment and trying to kill you with an umbrella.
Yo, bro, it's chill, man. We're cool.
On the other hand, Stanley and Will decide that they need to go find a way to translate the ring, whatever it says on it, which is in Mermish. They've been using the magic mirror to do so, but however, with the magic being wonky, it seems to not be working. So they decide to go to an old mermaid graveyard, which has now become a golf course, to hopefully find a mermaid ghost that will translate it. Honestly, these people are digging at the bottom of the barrel and somehow still succeeding.
Heard you guys had a mermaid ghost problem. I don't think she's buying it. Golfers?
Professional golfers.
Famous golfers.
Yes.
We're professional, famous golfers, and we've heard that you have the greatest 18 holes in the Southern Hemisphere.
Do you have a reservation?
No.
Do you have a membership?
No.
Here's the membership fee.
Membership fee, let's say.
Valerie questions why the squid dude would trust her with this ability, and Petromy says she has no clue why he does the things he does. But she does know that he is old and has fought the mer people for so long, he simply wants to leave the world with something peaceful. Valerie is starting to think that maybe the sea monsters aren't as bad as they say, but Maddison is still set on the goal of using the magic to clean the ocean. Episode 6, Mermaid Ghost. The next lock involves them playing a video game, and the sea monsters volunteer to go against the mermaids. Maddison agrees even though Valerie isn't sure. They all go underwater to essentially play a video game battle, except they actually feel pain in this game. Ronan ends up using Petromy as a shield, which injures her gravely, and everyone gets out of the pool except for Ronan to try and check on her. Thankfully, she's okay, and the game says the test is over even though they never finish. Turns out the game wasn't about winning, it was about who is worthy. Squid Dude tells Ronan that he has to leave after what he did. Ronan, of course, is annoyed by this but leaves anyway. Personally, I wish Valerie was the worthy one instead of Maddison. I don't know why, but Maddison has kind of been against the sea monsters and stuff, and Valerie's the one who's actually coming around. I don't know, maybe it's because she's the main character and they had to give her that moment. After all of this, Valerie decides to admit to them what they were planning on doing when they open the last lock. She offers that they should do it together, and Maddison is shocked by the fact that she revealed her plan. However, they all decide to join forces and work together. Meanwhile, Will and Stanley go to the graveyard/golf course to find a mermaid ghost by using the magic mirror. They do find a ghost, and the ghost grants Stanley with the ability to translate mermaid language. Episode 7, the final lock. Stanley uses his newfound mermaid language reading abilities to read the ring, and it says that they need to go to the mouth of a kraken, which is what the locals call a place south of the island. Unfortunately, they need a boat to get there. Guye offers them a pan flip for a business that rents boats. The mermaids then try to open the final lock, but it turns out that they can only light up one of the 3 discs. And the sea monsters can light up one other disc, but there's still one remaining. Can you guess who's gonna light it up? Jed also ends up following them to the island, courtesy of Stanley telling him everything, and eventually meets up with Stanley while the group is ahead of him. Stanley then introduces Jed back into the group. The group is of course not pleased to see him, especially after he threatened to kill Stanley, but of course this was a joke because he loves Stanley.
Yo, bro, you might want to get away from...
All right, everybody get back! You're gonna let me to that magic well or else I kill this sweet little boy, this sweet, sweet muffin of a boy.
Don't worry, I'm not really gonna kill you, it's fine, we're boys.
Everybody back, I'll do it!
But then the sea cops arrive and arrest all of them, including Ronan, who was just chilling outside the cave because he got kicked out of the bad guys group. Apparently he was already wanted for many things, which is very in character. Stanley somehow slips out of the handcuffs courtesy of his tiny wrists. He also lets everyone else out except for Jed and Ronan, who are tied up together separately. Will, Nat, Liam, and Stanley all start fighting the sea cops while Ronan makes his escape and Jed follows after him. After successfully defeating the sea cops, the gang ends up finding the cave, and the mermaids and sea monsters realize they need humans to open up the final lock. Episode 8, Trapped.
You need a human to open this last door, which you need to do so you can access a big magic power source in order to get rid of pollution. And that's what you were captured on purpose. But you're not really captured anymore because the monsters that capture you are now your friends And they're not really monsters. They're just misunderstood people.
Thank you, Liam, for making my job easier. Valerie, Liam, and Petromy all decide to get into the pool to unlock the gate. Meanwhile, Maddison and Will have another argument. Honestly, them having fights in the show never felt repetitive, but after reading my script and saying they have a fight maybe 4 times, and I'm not even at the end of the show yet, makes it feel very repetitive to me. Meanwhile, Jed explains to Ronan what his plan is, and Ronan agrees to help him. Turns out the lock needed more than just pushing buttons. Essentially, the humans have to go up to the top of the mountain because they have feet, the sea monsters have to go down to the trenches because they can withstand the pressure, and the mermaids have to stay in the cave. They successfully unlock the final lock. Oh my goodness, that's hard to say. They successfully unlock the final lock. Okay, I'm done. However, Maddison gets overcome by magic because she was in the pool when they unlocked it. Also, Will's dad arrives to try and steal the magic. Episode 9, The Storm. Episode 9 starts off with the gang together in a cave while Will's father prepares a machine with his lackeys to transfer the magic into a giant container. Will, of course, is understandably very angry at his father, and Maddison and Valerie feel like they failed. Will's father sends them to the airport with some of his henchmen. Look, I don't know what to call these people, so from now on I'm just going to call them a different name every single time. Why? Because I can. Also, I forgot to mention, but Stanley got turned into some sort of sea plant when Maddison was throwing magic everywhere, so there's that. While the minions continue to lead the group down the beach, Will's father talks to one of the science ladies, and she says that she's concerned with transferring the magic and says it's too unpredictable. Of course, Will's father does not care. Ronan says that the mermaids will become an issue if he lets them go freely. He can't just let them go on a plane back to wherever and let them do what they wish. Ronan says that he can take care of them, but Will's father just hands him a check and says his services are no longer required. They head back to the hotel so they can grab their things.
So, can we just get the checkout paperwork?
Certainly. Let me just find the right form. Hi.
Nice.
After they defeat the cronies, they decide that even though there's a slim possibility of them succeeding, they're going to try and seal the well up again anyway.
We're clear to start, sir.
Excellent! Begin the... Jed!
What?
What are you doing?
What does it look like I'm doing? I'm destroying this machine for my best friend, Stanley.
Meanwhile, Will's father has Ronan go into the pool to try and connect the magic to the machine. And no, I didn't miss anything. Will's father decided that he needed Ronan anyway again, or Ronan just didn't decide to leave. I don't know. However, when they connect it, of course it doesn't work and the magic goes haywire. Final, Atlantis.
Oh my god. What have I done?
Mahalo! The end of the world!
Currently, the gang is all on the beach, and randomly, Stanley turns back into a human. A wizard. Look, I'll talk about it later. Everyone decides to separate and try to reseal the lock the same way they unlocked it. Maddison and Valerie head into the cave, and they must fight Ronan. The sea monsters successfully lock up their end, but unfortunately with the loss of Squid Dude. R.I.P. my dude. Liam, Stanley, and Nat go to the top of the mountain, and unfortunately there's a giant jellyfish guarding the stone. It zaps Stanley, and he's knocked out unconscious. However, when all hope is lost, Liam kisses Nat, and Stanley destroys the fish with magic. Honestly, I don't care. Way to go, Stanley. Maddison and Valerie successfully defeat Ronan by luring him into the magic and locking him sealed in it. Honestly, this would be a great villain origin story, like if the magic took him over and he was like the most powerful being ever because he was trapped in there for like 100 years and then he comes back and like defeats their children or something. Oh, Will's father is also a lobster now. The gang all meets back on the beach for one final goodbye. Nat and Liam decide to stay and clean up the beach. Stanley and Jed run off together. I mean, go on a bros trip together. And Valerie and Maddison finally decide to show Will their world. And that's the end of Life as a Mermaid. And if you guys truly don't believe that I was a fan of the show, here is a comment I commented like 4 years ago. And not to brag, but they liked it. Yeah, I'm kind of a celebrity. I'm gonna go off script for the conclusion of this video, so if it sounds kind of rambling, that's just what it's gonna feel like. This show truly meant a lot to me as a kid, and of course it's not perfect. You can very clearly tell that, probably just from this video. However, this show will always hold a special place in my heart. It was a passion project that raised a bunch of money for fundraisers and charities, at least to my knowledge. And you can genuinely tell that this was a really fun show to make, especially for the cast. They always seemed to be having a fun time on set, and the little videos they made on the side were just always a joy. If you want to watch the show for yourself, even though I've already spoiled the whole thing, you can watch it on Amazon Prime, or you can watch it on YouTube where the entire series is available, including movie versions of all 3 seasons that have important plot. There's also a bunch of short films that I didn't mention, but one of them confirms that Stanley had a British accent as a child. His parents didn't. This is never explained, but I love it. I just imagine him watching Harry Potter as a kid, and then he's like, I want to be a wizard, and he just starts having a British accent. That would be such a Stanley thing to do. I also want to say that I absolutely love Valerie's character. I think her actor does a really fun job of playing the little sister, but at the same time, she ain't taking no crap from no one. I also missed her iconic choker in season 3. Also, Beatrice was a fantastic character, and I loved the acting performance from their actor. They also starred in another show called Witch Haven, which was a little spin-off kind of thing that they did, which only has 1 season, unfortunately, but you can also still watch that. It's the only YouTube channel that they follow, so if you want to find it, it's very easy to find. But she does a phenomenal job acting in that. I also love little details like Valerie cleaning her tail with a toothbrush or random Little Mermaid references. Also, the fact that almost the entire cast, aside from Nat and Maddison, have played multiple roles on previous seasons they didn't appear in as main characters. For example, the Barnacle King plays a henchman here. Liam and Valerie are both in the party scene from season 1. Also, a lot of the background people were just people who worked on the show. This show was so fun to revisit, and especially even more fun to write a video essay on. I've been wanting to make a video essay on a show for so long, and this was the first one that eventually finally got me to do it, so I appreciate it so much for that. If you want me to do more videos like this, especially with small-time shows or movies, please put them down in the comments and I'll have to go and check them out, because these are some of my favorite videos to watch, and they're just genuinely relaxing. And I know my very fast-paced voice probably wasn't the best, most relaxing thing, but at least I hope you got a good laugh out of this video. And again, if you like these videos, subscribe, and hopefully I'll make some more if this gets enough attention. Yeah, thank you so much for watching this video, and I don't have a way to say an outro because I don't have an outro really, so bye! Life as a mermaid is better than H2O.